Wednesday, August 3rd, 2016, at approximately 5:30 a.m., the Calgary Police Service was called to a home in the Greenview neighbourhood after a family woke to find two of their children and their family vehicle missing. It is believed that the family's 19-year-old son abducted his 8-year-old sister in the family vehicle sometime in the early morning hours of Wednesday. Through the course of our investigation, we learned that the suspect was driving west through British Columbia. Our investigators immediately contacted the RCMP to request assistance, and together we located the family's vehicle driving on the highway just outside of Hope, BC. The RCMP followed the vehicle and initiated a traffic stop near Abbotsford once it was safe to do so, with the assistance of the Abbotsford Police Department. The girl and her older brother were taken into custody without incident, and we were happy to report that the girl had not been harmed. The brother has been charged with 1 count of abduction of a child under 14, and more charges are pending. We are still not sure what his motivation was for taking his sister. To protect the identity of the victim and the privacy of the family, the names of the individuals involved will not be released. The father of the girl has been reunited with his daughter, thanks to a flight provided by the Missing Children Society of Canada in partnership with WestJet. The brother will be brought back to Alberta by police later this week. We'd like to sincerely thank the BC RCMP and the Abbotsford Police Department for their support locating this girl. We would also like to specifically thank the Upper Fraser Valley Regional Detachment of the RCMP for their quick response in spotting and stopping the vehicle once the girl was located. Thank you. I'll now take any questions you have.
I know you mentioned that we don't know the motive, but can you give us any sense as to the intention of the robbery?
I really can't, and it is a key part of the investigation that's still going to need to occur. The offender in this case has not been interviewed by our investigators. Once he's transported back into Alberta, that interview will take place. At this point, we have absolutely no idea what the motivation is.
Does he have a history with police in any regard?
No, he is not known to police.
Does he live at the home? Like, did he live at the residence?
As a family unit, they resided together.
Was there any reason to believe that this girl was in danger at any point?
It was a significant part of the investigation, and that was the key crux during this, as to what risk the child may be at. And late in the day, we did determine that we believe the child was at imminent risk of harm. And ironically, at the same time as we were preparing for an Amber Alert and truly drafting that is when we located the vehicle.
Can you go into that, what it takes to get the Amber Alert? Because I guess you have to determine the risk level, considering that an 8-year-old girl was with a 19-year-old brother in that situation.
Yeah, in the Amber Alert, there's 4 criteria that needs to be met. First, that we need to believe that a child's been abducted. We need to believe that they're at imminent risk of serious harm or death. We need to believe that there's enough information to allow the public to help us locate the child, and it needs to be close enough in time. What makes it challenging when we have familial abductions versus stranger abductions, it's very easy when you have a stranger abduction to assume that there's imminent risk of serious harm or death. But when you have a family connection in there, it takes a little bit more to figure out what is the motivation, what could the potential of this be, and it's that part of the criteria that we're working really hard during the day to establish.
Can you talk about how many people lived in the home? You mentioned that this 19-year-old lived in the same home as the 8-year-old. How many people were in that?
I don't have the exact number. It was a family unit, but I don't know how many resided in the home.
Is it a mother, father, or?
Yeah, there are parents involved and siblings, but I'm not sure how many in total. I believe there's one other child in the household.
Was there any indication of fighting within the family at all before this that may have led to them wanting to leave?
Yeah, there's no history of domestic conflict or domestic violence within the family, and that's, again, another reason why we really need to figure out what the motivation was for this.
Is there any family in BC that the 19-year-old may be driving towards? Or?
No, there doesn't appear, in our investigation so far, there doesn't appear to be any connection to the movements. And again, that speaks to one of our concerns about the safety of the child, is the lack of motivation, the lack of connection, taking out the family vehicle. It just was very challenging to try and figure out what exactly was going on.
Is there some sort of altercation before she was abducted? Did the family or anything like that?
No, the family's reporting that there's normal, household relationships going on, and there was nothing, no fights or arguments leading up to this.
Is there any psychological issues?
We're certainly looking at that as a possibility.
Was there anything left? Like did he leave a note in the morning saying, "I've taken blank" or whatever, or do you know anything about that?
No, absolutely no indication. When the parents awoke in the morning, they found both of them missing. And that initially started as a missing person investigation. And through the course of trying to locate them, starting to realize through the investigative efforts and what we were able to determine that they weren't missing, this was an abduction.
Did he pack items with her as if she could take care of her for a while? Or?
I don't believe so.
How were the mom and dad navigating through all of this? Like, dealing with your investigators? Were they frantic? Were they panicked?
Yeah, there are obviously high levels of concern. So quite regular contact with the police service throughout the day. Our primary objective was to safely locate the child, and then as soon as we could do that, to reunite the family as quickly as possible. And I'm sure, as we can all appreciate, having a young child missing from your home is quite traumatic.
And how was the little girl?
Yeah, our partners in BC are reporting that she was in good health and appeared to be fine. I can confirm that late last night the father was reunited with her, and they are making plans and traveling back to Calgary today.
When they took this 19-year-old into custody, was there any weapons, anything found, anything toward in the vehicle?
No, there's no indication of anything located in the vehicle during the arrest.
I'm just curious, when they actually thought that, did they think at first they've gone somewhere in Calgary? When did they actually think, oh, they've left town? When did they actually think that there was an actual real issue?
Yeah, and there's a number of investigative tactics that we use trying to locate, especially young missing children. Initially, we just simply know they're missing out of the home. And so we're looking at all possibilities. They could be in the city. They could have gone on a vacation. They could have gone to visit families or friend or something like that. But very quickly in the investigation, it became apparent that they were traveling outside of Calgary and traveling into BC. And that certainly started to heighten the concern around the safety for the girl.
Had the 19-year-old contacted his parents at any point, or did he just take off without a trace? Did he call them? Or?
There was no contact whatsoever once he left the house.
What led you to BC? What led you to that?
I don't want to reveal maybe some of the investigative tactics, but we're gonna look at a lot of different possibilities to try and track someone. And certainly when we're dealing with a young child that is missing, there's a lot of options that are open for us to look through, covert options, and it's through that means that we're able to locate them.
Was it bank records that led you to BC?
I can't comment specifically on that.
So I guess I'm just curious as to the turning point, especially if his motive is still a mystery at this point. Was the level of risk heightened because he was leaving the city, or like what was it that led you to suddenly believe that this was something more serious?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that we suddenly believed. There was a significant amount of concern. Quite quickly, as soon as we realized that he was free and able to move on his own through the investigation and was leaving the city, the lack of motivation, the lack of planning, the lack of history, lack of contact with the family, all those things starting to really make us believe that this person was not able to safely or care for an 8-year-old. As we started to build the criteria, the family was quite distraught. And trying to determine where the risk might be for her. And as we started tracking further and further west into British Columbia, really believing that there's a possibility of almost anything, but even leaving the country being a possibility. And that really increased our anxiety around locating her as quickly as possible.
Did they have passports with them?
They did.
We obviously know how an Amber Alert ended here in Calgary just over 3 weeks ago. What's it like as a police service to go through another near Amber Alert, given what happened just last month?
Anytime we're dealing with missing children, there's a significant amount of energy and concern that goes into it. Our investigators, our operational response is completely dedicated. The mission for us is very, very simple: locate and ensure the safety of the child. And every time, that's our goal, and that's what we set out to do. When we have files like a few weeks ago, that hits all of us very hard. When we have a file like yesterday and we safely locate the child and she's unharmed, it makes us very proud to do the work that we do. And I can say that this isn't an isolated response. This is complete collaboration. This is multiple agencies working together: Canadian Border Services, U.S. Border Services, municipal police in BC, public affairs in the different areas. We have an RCMP officer embedded into our real-time operations center who is critical and quick information sharing, and it's that full collaboration, and all those pieces working quickly together is why we were able to locate her. It was a good day.
I just have one other question. Is it fair to say this was uncharacteristic of this 19-year-old, like according to the family?
Yeah, that would be a fair statement.